Good evening, brothers. What's up? It's Mike, your mentor. Sorry I'm coming at you a little bit late tonight. Just got out of family movie night. Ralph Breaks the Internet. Pretty good movie. A lot of good life lessons in there. It was enjoyable. So tonight I want to talk to you about the people in your life that you love and that you care about. Um, how often do you tell them that you love them? Is it every chance you get? Is it every now and then? Do your kids know how much you love them? Does your wife know how much you love her? Do your parents know how much you love them? Do your siblings know how much you love them? Do your friends know how much you love them? Do you voice that? So that's tonight's question, and I want to share a little story with you. So it was October the 8th, 2001, and 18-year-old high school student just got expelled from high school. He came home, he locked himself in his room, and he refused to talk to anybody. And then, under the cover of night, he went and took one of his grandfather's shotguns and put it in his car and drove to the nearby high school where he was a senior. And he sat there all night contemplating his life, contemplating what he was going to do and what was going to ensue from the disappointment that he felt maybe he had caused everybody that night. There was intervention. God works in mysterious ways. His best friend, getting home late at night from being out, saw him sitting in the parking lot, or saw his car sitting in the parking lot, and approached him and tried to talk to him, asked him if he was all right. The kid said, "Yeah, I'm fine. I just need a little bit of time to myself. I'll be good." And his friend was like, "Okay," and went on his way. The next morning, the kid drove his car to the nearest parking spot closest to the building and sat there. And as everyone came in and parked their cars for school, they got out and they walked by and they shouted the kid's name and asked him if he was going to come into school and go to class. And he told them, "Yeah, don't worry, he'd be in there in a minute." And they believed him, so they went inside and started to get going on their day. Well, about 5-10 minutes into the first hour, a girl forgets or remembers that she forgot one of her books out in her car, and she goes out the front door to the parking lot, and as she gets closer to where the cars are parked, she sees a body, and it's slumped over in the car. So she runs back inside, and she goes to the office and grabs whoever she can, and she tells them the news that there's a student slumped over in his car out in the parking lot. So the school proceeds to do what it does and send somebody out there to check, and sure enough, this student was in their car, and they were dead. They had taken the shotgun and they had killed themselves right there in the parking lot. That student was my brother. And yeah, he committed suicide. He took his life, and it was in a very traumatic fashion. And it rocked our family. It rocked our community. It was crazy, man. It was surreal. It was a blur. I mean, I can remember everything about that day. The phone calls I got in the morning because I was away at school, from my best friends, trying to allude to me that something had happened until I was able to get it out of them. The smells, what I wore, the people that came to my grandpa's house, up the driveway one after another. It's crazy. The reason I tell you that story is because I didn't get to say goodbye to my brother that day or the previous day before that. I hadn't actually talked to my brother for maybe a good month. Um, but it's funny because I think even before that happened, I was a big believer in telling the people that I care about that I love them. It didn't matter if it was another guy. It didn't matter who it was. If I cared about you and you meant something to me, I would tell you that I loved you. Because that's how I felt and that's what was true. I was never embarrassed, especially if it was another guy that wasn't even maybe a family member. So I bring this up to tell you that I was fortunate enough to tell my brother that I did love him. I remember the last night that I spent with him. It's kind of crazy. Me and a buddy, we were, well, this is about being vulnerable and honest. Me and a buddy were down in my grandpa's basement, and we were having a couple mixed drinks before we were going to go out to the bar or whatever that night, and do what young college guys do, I guess. And he was down there, and he was kind of watching what we were doing, and hearing my somewhat hypocritical statements telling him, he better wait till he's 21 to drink, and kind of preaching to him. And I was drinking vodka that night, and I took this vodka bottle, and I maybe drank like a fourth of it between both of us. And we were leaving, and I went and I put it in my room, and I stuffed it like back underneath my bed, like in between the mattress and the wall, because I just had this weird feeling as I was leaving that he was gonna try to touch it or try to drink it or do something. It was just this impression that was deep inside my heart. So we went to the club, and hung out that night, and I came home later that night, and sure enough, I went down the stairs to my room, and my room was at the end of the hallway. His room was right before my room. So I go, and I'm walking past his room, and his door is open, and he is laying on the bed, face down, and his hands and his arms are spread out like he did a belly flop on his bed. And his head's turned to the side, and he's maybe drooling a little bit. And I'm like, something told me, I'm like, this dude, like, I bet he got that bottle. And I went into my room, and I looked behind my bed where I had put it, and the whole thing was gone. The whole thing. I mean, I don't know for sure. I would never know for sure. I can only speculate. But if I was a betting man, I would bet that he drank that whole thing and passed out on his bed. And I went into his room, and I was pissed. And I grabbed him, and I shook him till he woke up, and started screaming at him, like, what did you do? Like, why did you touch that? And he was like he normally was when he got in trouble, all apologetic and saying he was sorry. And the crazy thing about that night is that we ended up staying up for like maybe 2 hours just talking about life and like all the things that you deal with as a high school student, with the cliques and the girls and just the BS, trying to fit in, trying to find your identity, and how tough that can be. I mean, especially for a mixed kid, at times where you feel like you're not white enough for the white kids and you're not black enough for the black kids. You're kind of stuck in between. And it was a really good talk, a talk almost like maybe a father would have with his son in parts, but a good older brother, younger brother talk, where we were both just real with each other. And at the end of that talk, I just remember telling my brother that I loved him and giving him a hug, and not knowing that would be the last time that I ever saw him alive. That's crazy, so it's kind of short and sweet tonight. I just want to encourage you, like, you don't know when your life's going to end. You don't know when someone else's life that you love and care about is going to end. I just found out 2 days ago that my cousin, who I think is 22, 23, 24, in her young 20s, suddenly died because she was in a car accident. I mean, those are things that just happen that no one knows are going to happen. And for me, and the way that I live my life is, if I love somebody, I want them to know that, and I want that to be the last thing I tell them. I don't want it to be a fight. I don't want it to be me maybe getting hot-headed and saying something I regret. So, I mean, maybe it's a circumstance of what happened to my brother, but I'm very conscious of telling people that I love them, and expressing that feeling towards them, and verbalizing that's important to me. So I just want to encourage you. That's today's Tuesday thought. It doesn't matter who it is. I just want to encourage you to let the people that you care about in your life know that you love them. Verbally tell them. Look them in the eyes. If you have the chance, tell them that you love them. If it's a brother, a sister, or a relative that lives in another state, man, get on the phone and call them and talk to them for a little bit and tell them you love them when that phone call is done. Because I promise you, I don't know if you've dealt with death in your life, but when it comes and somebody that you care about dies, you're going to think about that. Did I have the opportunity to tell that person that I love them and that I really cared about them? And it's a good feeling to know that you can answer that question with a yes. So I appreciate you brothers watching this, for tuning in, for supporting me. And some of you guys I know really good, some of you guys I don't. But I love you guys, because even if we don't know each other very well, we have a common bond, and that's manhood, and that's the struggle of being a man and trying to support your family, or accept responsibility, and do what you have to do every day in life to better yourself, and to find a way to make your life better, or for those the lives for those around you better. And that can be scary, and that can be frustrating at times when you don't know what to expect, you don't know what to do, you feel like you're swimming or you're drowning. I've been there. I know. I understand. So I love you guys. Have a good night, and we'll see you tomorrow for Wednesday Wisdom. Thanks. Bye.